I'd rather date a woman that slept with a lot of people than a woman who slept with none. I want to be...
Let's watch this video together.
I'd rather date a woman that slept with a lot of people than a woman who slept with none. I want to be incredibly clear before anyone jumps in here. I actually don't care about someone's dating history or their sexual history whatsoever. I don't ask about it. I don't fixate on it. I genuinely couldn't tell you how many people the women I've dated with have slept with. It's just not information I store. I'm bringing this up sort of in like a kind of contrast to the discussions that I always see around body counts, particularly because I was at this event recently where this conversation frustratingly drifted into one about body counts, and I immediately felt that familiar ick start to develop in my body. At one point, I said something plainly to these boys talking about wanting women to have low body counts. I just said if I met a woman that I really liked, someone I could imagine being in a relationship with, and she told me that she'd never been with anyone, I'd probably think, maybe I don't want to pursue this. Maybe I won't pursue this. Not because there's anything wrong with her or wrong with waiting. It's just because at my big age, I don't think we should be together. I think you should go live a little bit. I think you should go sow your wild oats, all of that stuff. One guy understood where I was coming from. All the women in the room immediately got it, but the men reacted as if I said something outrageous. They couldn't understand the idea of me wanting her to have slept with another man. Like, the truth is, I don't think about it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about her and her life and her experience and her knowing herself. There's nothing wrong with inexperience. I'm just saying that for me at 35, I don't see myself in a relationship with someone who does not yet know themselves. And whether people like this or not, I do think that dating history is one of the ways in which many adults will come to understand who they are. Certainly was for me. What kind of disturbed me, however, was the way that when I pushed the men a little further, for instance, I asked them if I could introduce you to a woman who you'd really like, really get on with and want to date, how many people would you want her to have slept with? And they all said 0. I just kept hearing 0. I kept hearing things like, she doesn't need her own experiences. She doesn't need to learn from life. She'll learn through me. I'll be her teacher. It's for me, it's gross. But also, it's deeply confusing because we were all about the same age. Here's the part I shouldn't say out loud, but I'm going to anyway. Nobody who thinks like this is good enough in bed to be anyone's teacher. I'm not saying that to be provocative. I'm saying it because there's a pretty consistent agreement among people who work professionally within sex, intimacy, and with couples that the difference between good sex and bad sex, whatever the form of the sex that it takes place, is the ability to be present and to be non-judgmental. Whatever you're doing in the room, you have to be able to be in the room with that person. And a lot of people aren't. You would be surprised to know. A lot of people are in their heads. They're thinking about how they look, whether or not they're doing it right, how they're being judged, how they're measuring up against other men or other women. They're managing an image instead of being with the person next to them, or in front, or on top. Learning how to strip that away, how to be genuinely present with another human being, is hard work. It takes self-knowledge, it takes experience, and it also takes a lot of humility. So when I hear a grown man say, I don't want her to be with anybody else, I'll teach her, what I actually hear is, my insecurity is going to get in the way of this being a good experience for the both of us. Because if you're obsessed with finding someone with 0 experience, you're already not in the moment. You're preoccupied with ghosts and ghost stories and comparisons that you're inventing in your own head. If you can't get out of your head long enough to let somebody have a past, you definitely can't get out of your head long enough to be a good lover. That's the irony. That's the one thing you need most to be good in bed. Is presence is the very thing this mindset makes impossible. When you talk about wanting a woman to have had the same sexual experience as a child, you're talking about wanting to erase that person's life. Because the person that you've met, the person that you're falling for, is shaped by who they've loved before you, who they've desired, who they've been hurt by, who they've been with, the jobs that they've done, the places they've traveled, the family members they've fallen out with. I don't need all the details on how you got to who you are as a person. We'll find that out together. But the person I want to spend my life with is not a person that I think, oh, I get to mold you, I get to shape you. It's a person that I meet and think, wow, this is who you are? There's another layer that I think really matters here, which is that women have gone through decades of sexual liberation. They've had conversations about desire and agency and pleasure and identity. There are books written on the topic. Men largely have not. And instead of doing that work themselves, instead of as a society, as a community doing that work, too many men respond by trying to limit a woman's sexual experience so they don't have to confront their own insecurity. Sex for many people is how you learn boundaries. It's what you like, what you don't like, how you relate to intimacy. I'm not saying everybody needs a long sexual history. I'm not saying people can't meet young, be one another's first, and then grow together. I'm not saying lifelong monogamy that starts early is wrong. I am saying this. If you're a grown man with a long dating history who insists on being with someone with none, you're creating an imbalance on purpose, and I think you want to ask yourself why.
So, whatever this guy is saying to an average man who believes in himself is not new. To a man who believes in his ability to pleasure a woman, whatever this guy is saying is the bare minimum. When you find a man that is obsessed with a woman's sexuality and a woman's past, especially in terms of body counts, because they can't do anything. They don't believe that they can actually give this woman a good experience. That's why they are so concerned in you in asking you about your past to see if they can measure up. And that's why they don't want a woman with any past experience, because they don't have any yardstick to measure them on. Because for a woman like me, I mean, baby, when it comes to men, I've had my share. So I know one or two things, you know. I know one or two things. A man will be touching me in a way and I'll be like, you cannot do that. There are things I like, there are things I don't like. Like when you have been around, you know, these experiences with different people, different body size, body shapes, cultures, etc., you find out what you like. And that's why for me as a woman also, it shocks me that there are women to this day who can't touch themselves. It shocks me. It shocks to me to find out that there are women who cannot touch themselves. And I remember one of my boyfriends that I dated in the past once asked me that, do you touch yourself? And then I said yes. And I said, okay, why is that important? He said, if you are not happy with your body to pleasure yourself, how then do you expect other people to pleasure you? Because do you even know what you like? And that's why for me, when I see women who are so focused on letting their pleasure be curtailed and dictated by men, it's crazy. That's why when you hear a woman who's in a relationship and they say, oh, she has a dildo or she has a rose, you're like, oh my God, you have a husband, so your husband is not enough for you. No. There's a difference between having sex with your man, and there's a difference between that with you doing it to yourself. Let's say for people whose partners travel for work, etc., sometimes you want to, you know, just get acquainted with your little kitty card. Anyway, don't be dating these insecure boys who are obsessed with body count. I have never been asked by any man my body count. And I remember I once asked my boyfriend that, why don't you ask? I've never been asked, but why don't you ask? He said, I believe in my abilities to perform. So whether you've had good before, you've had whatever, I know myself, I can still have a good experience. So there's no need for me to necessarily ask, because that's your past. What I'm concerned is your current and what you've learned. So you tell me you like this or you don't like this, or we can do this. You have some things, we can compare notes, in short. And even for me, I can't be with a man that has no had experiences in the past. I can't. Because while me, I'm there sweating, killing myself, trying to prove a point, you have zero measuring table. You're looking at me like, is it good, is it bad? You cannot tell. Ladies, live your lives. Like they always say, it's not soap, you do not finish. Experience, live a little. And for me, this advice, I've actually gotten it from men. That's why it baffles me that you people are meeting men that are asking you about body counts. In your big 35 years of being on this earth, a man has the effort to ask you your body count. And because you're a good Christian girl, you want to humble yourself and lower the number. Try that. Try that with some of us. I'll tell you 2,000. Do you have evidence? Always exaggerate so that they run away. Because men who are obsessed with body counts, even when it comes to the work, they cannot do it. Said what I said, and I actually applaud this guy for actually saying it as it is. Most men who believe in themselves and in their ability to pleasure a woman and to contribute to a good sexual experience, they do not care about a woman's body count. That's why you see the Bonnie Blues, they have men. The former people who do adult entertainment, they get husbands. Because the one thing about men, all they want is that they don't care really who has walked there. As long as they have it, they are happy. For you to be considered good at your job, you need experience. For you to be considered a good driver, you need experience. For you to be considered a good chef, you need experience. For you to be good at anything, You need experience. And how do you build experience? By doing this thing multiple times. Why is it different when it comes to sex? Why should it be different when it comes to sex? No employer is going to employ you with zero experience. Like, very few of them. And we both know how they treat you because you have no experience. Because now you want to graduate and stay with that your CV at home. You're not looking for experience, right? You want to sit with that your CV at home, hoping that one day a good recruiter from UK, from London, from the UN, from all those multinationals will come and find you in Mahese or in Cheskaki or in Misiru or in Chabarbar or in, I don't know where, in Johannesburg, somewhere village there in Soweto, and offer you a job that you're actually good at. Get out of my face. Just get out of my face. Don't piss me off. Let me tell you, if there's something that pisses me off, is this purity gospel. Especially purity from a point of, I want to keep myself for marriage. If it's purity for your own personal choice, reasons, I get it. But if it's purity for the for the mere fact that you want to get a husband in the future, you are most likely going to end up the prostitute for a husband. Because those who have done a couple of 1-2 things, they like people with experience. Because that good Christian man that you think is so loyal and nice will pick you from the church a bit, put you in his house. Guess where he'll be spending most of his time to be entertained? Don't say I didn't tell you, but I beg. Serve the Lord. Don't give your body to anything. Wait until the Lord comes, because Jesus is for sure coming back.
Okay, I think that a girl is not supposed to go around having sex just to have an experience. When she's married, these things comes automatically. I don't think someone can stand teaching you how to have sex with your wife. When once you are ready, you just look at a woman, you see opposite sex attract one another. They do attract themselves. Just standing naked in front of each other makes it all. You just discover that it works. It works. It is not the matter of teaching somebody this is how you do sex, even though those things are being taught. But you just have to uphold yourself, be mature as a girl. When you get married, these things are very easy. Nobody will teach you, but it will work. So I am concluding that it is always good for a girl to respect herself. Be that person God created you to be. When you get married, things will happen the way God had planned it. To this man who would want to marry a girl who has had this many experiences, I would say, to some extent you may be right, but how will you feel if tomorrow you are passing along the road with your wife and everyone's finger, or this man whom she had slept with, are saying, this has been my girlfriend, I slept with her, I slept with her. How will you feel at that particular time as a man moving with a girl you honor? How will you feel if everyone is saying, I slept with your wife? Will you feel honored, or will you feel ashamed? And will you advise your daughter to wear that shoe that you're wearing? If you are a good father, will you not scold your child to respect herself and get married to someone who will uphold her as a virgin? Thank you. That's my thought. What do you think? Like the video for recommendation, subscribe.